I'm Brickroad. Let's play Ori and the Blind Forests. This game was commissioned by one of my patrons. My heart goes out to all of you. Thank you so much. And it's good with reservations. We'll talk about some of those reservations going forward. First, though, let's talk about what the game does really, really right. This game, right away, it's going to tug at your heartstrings. And you guys know me, I usually like to skip the cutscenes in the games and whatnot. We're going to watch the cutscenes in Ori because right away, this game forces you into like a narrow emotional attachment with the player character, who is Ori, this little, I guess this little, like, rabbit made of light is what Ori is? I'm not really sure. But I suppose Ori was this leaf from, like, the Great Spirit Tree, like the Great Deku Tree of this universe, touched by the spiritual, glowy life force that lives within us all. And right away, the game tells you the story of this relationship between this big, bulbous mother monster and Ori. I think after... I mean, eventually, if you're going to replay this game after you've done it a few times, you would skip this prologue, which you would just go in and click skip prologue. We'll play through it, just because... if you haven't seen Ori and the Blind Forest, if you haven't played it for yourself, or if you haven't seen anybody play through it, you're going to want to carry this emotional weight through the story. You're going to want to get that investment. So the leaf turns into this little dragon rabbit thing, which I'm sure they would make a killing on if they sold plushies of this little thing. I'd buy one. I like Ori because if Ori was a little furrier and was blue, I could pretend that he's Stitch. So Ori lives in this wonderful forest filled with light. And you can see right away that the art direction in this game is fantastic. It's a gorgeous game, and it does a lot to... I need to jump onto this little platform here. It does a lot to convey information, emotional information, with its visuals. I mean, I don't have to tell that to you. You guys are watching the screen right now. You can see what it's doing. Very few games kind of tug this chord for me. It's very rare that I play a game that has visuals that draw me in. But Ori does. The visual design, the sound design, it draws you into the world right away. A lot of times when I play a game, if I play a game with a prologue this long, that kind of drones on like this, I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. Let's get to the gameplay part. Let's get to the part where yeah. But not with Ori. With Ori, the first time I played this, I really enjoyed sitting down and witnessing this prologue. So Ori has collected a bunch of fruits with his adoptive mother. They built a bridge. But, of course, we would not have a game if something horrible was not about to happen. So there's the Great Spirit Tree. And I suppose in an effort to get its glowing leaf back, the Great Deku Tree sends out a big Lifestream explosion. And why wouldn't it, you know? And now it's sad times. Because the big Lifestream explosion was apparently bad. And now all the fruits are wilting away. And all is desolation. Or it's autumn, or it's just fall, and these characters have never seen fall before, and winter set in. I mean, Eddard Stark warned them. They didn't listen. But fruits are now very, very scarce. Whoops. And the forest, as it were, became blind. See, I told you. That's why this game's called that. But Ori, who is lighter and more nimble than his gargantuan mother lady, is able to reach the very last fruit in the woods. Alright, so let's get home before Mom starves to death. So I'm not sure how much time is supposed to have passed here. A couple of seasons, I would think. But as we know, the Lifestream explosion is no good for anybody. I mean, that just goes without saying, doesn't it? And if your heartstrings at this point are not sufficiently tugged, something obvious thing, Ori's too late. And if you're my age, you just had a Lion King flashback. So that's how the game starts, with a Lion King flashback. And you actually have to make Ori walk here at 0.6 miles per hour because he's so depressed. Everything sucks. The forest is blind. Mom is dead. We haven't seen a fruit in weeks. Razor vine everywhere. Lilting piano music. And maybe you can see now why I would be more inclined to hit skip prologue. But I'm showing it for you guys, because I've already seen this, but maybe you haven't. It always seems to be that Ori has, like, too many limbs. Like, he's got his arms and this flappy tail and these big floppy ears. But then he's got, like, they're not wings. I'm not sure what they are. They're, like, just dangle-dingles coming off the back of his neck. Or maybe he has 4 ears. I don't know. And Ori's dead. That's it, guys. Short game. Thanks for watching. Just trying to lighten the mood a little bit. So Ori's just going to get back up, even though we were just told he breathes his last. And now the real gameplay begins. So, let's talk about the gameplay a little bit. Got Ori down here, and he's real fast and real nimble, and he has a cool flip whenever he jumps. Can I get up here? This is the right way? Yeah, there we go. So I made it to the sunken glades. Drop down through platforms. Pretty standard, like, Metroidvania kind of stuff. There are spikes that damage you. There's water that hurts because it's poisoned. All we can do right now, kind of, though, is run and jump. We can bop this thing to get some health back. We have 3 little green life shards down there. And now we have an energy cell. So, here's the first... Like, here's the one really unique gameplay aspect to Ori and the Blind Forest. I actually have to create my own save points by using my blue energy orbs down there. Oh, Jesus. Nope. And he's dead. So these are... They call it Spirit Light. They're actually experience points. You see, I've got a little yellow wheel down there with a 0 in it. That means I've got 0 experience levels to spend. There is that one RPG element in the game where killing monsters or finding hidden caches will give you experience points, and you spend those on perks. When we will see the perk menu, I have my whole list here of the perks I'm going to buy and when. And here's Scene, the light and eyes of the spirit tree. And Scene is our Navi fairy, for lack of a better term. And Scene is here to hurt monsters for me. So, the combat in this game is actually, it's very, very mashy. You've got to mash that button to send bolts of light out of Scene to hit these monsters. So, you might actually hear me hammering away on the button on my controller. So, I said in the beginning of the video that Ori... it's good. It's like 70% of the way to a really, really good game. It's just got some things holding it back. And one of the things holding it back as a gameplay is king kind of player is this mashy combat. It's, we better do another one of these. In an exploration-based game like this, in a Metroidvania-style game, this mashy combat, I don't think it fits very well. You just end up hitting the button over and over and over and over, and I don't know, in a game like this, an exploration-based game, I like my combat to kind of take a back seat to the exploration, and it doesn't in Ori. In Ori, combat is a main focus. If for no other reason, I guess I can level up now. So we make a little save point here, go into our ability tree, and we got 3 prongs to the ability tree. There's a combat prong down here. And the top here is like a spirit prong. Like an exploration prong kind of thing, which changes how my spirit save point thing works and eventually culminates in getting like a triple jump. And in the middle we have just like a quality of life stuff, just like passive stuff to suck in pickups and show map markers and things like that. But we're going to start with... Because the combat is so mashy, we're going to start with this quick flame. So now we can throw out 3 of these little sparks instead of 2. Just so we can kill monsters a little bit quicker. The monsters do get kind of tanky. And there's not much to the combat other than get close to the monster and just hit that button, man. Just mash it like there ain't no tomorrow. You know what I mean? So the combat's not very imaginative, and it never really gets better. It never really grows beyond just get in there and mash it. Mash it like you got a pair, you know? You do get other attacks and things later. You do get other ways to attack enemies. But the most efficient way to kill most monsters in the game is just get in there and mash it, mash it, mash it. And it's not like you might think in some Metroidvania games, like Metroid. Let's start with Metroid. In like a Metroid game, you don't need to kill every monster. You know, it's not really necessary to kill everything. But in Ori, you want those experience points, and usually it's easier to kill the monsters and get them out of your way than to try and go around them anyway. For most monsters, for most of the game, because the monsters tend to be right in your path, like this guy here. If I just try to jump over him, he's going to snipe me with these purple bolts of terror there, and he can fire those pretty far away. He can fire those like across the screen at you. And the screen is humongous, like very, very huge. You see Ori is very small on the screen in comparison to his surroundings, which means there's room for a lot of monsters, and monsters that have ranged attack can fire from a huge distance away. So it is, like, you can't really just dodge the monsters. Because even if you're able to get around a monster and advance a little bit... I need one more of these keystones. It's up top there. Yeah, I mean, even if you're able to get around a monster and advance a little bit, he's going to get you from behind after you thought you were safe, because there's so much screen real estate. Like this guy here, if I trigger him, he can fire... Look how far that goes. That's like almost half a screen away. And half a screen in a game with a screen this large in relation to your tiny, tiny character is a considerable distance. So really, avoiding the monsters is not going to avail you in most of the game, in most of the places. And some of these middle areas, like I'm going through now, when I come back through them with more abilities, yeah, I'll be able to just bypass the monsters. But your first time through an area, just in the entrance of clearing the screen out and filling up that experience meter and getting more perks, you're going to want to kill just about everything. So having this kind of mediocre mashy combat it doesn't feel real nice to play for a lot of the games. Can I open the spirit gate? No, I don't have any keystones. I could almost forgive the mashy kind of mindless combat, though, because, woo, we leveled up again. Whenever you level up, you get, like that full screen explosion effect. So let's go back, pop off another save point here. We're going to go to the middle path this time. Make that spirit magnet. Now pickups will kind of zoom in towards me. I don't have to go pick them up. They'll kind of magnetize towards me, which is nice. Just a quality of life thing, which we're going to need to have. Yeah, I could almost forgive the kind of mashy, mindless combat in Ori. Because it's like I said, in most Metroidvania games, a lot of times the combat's not going to be great, because the combat's not what you're here for. Here's a map stone. We need to find the owl's beak to put in the owl statue to get the thing. There's my other keystone. I didn't get a map stone, did I? I don't think so. I think it's over here to the left, probably. Metroid doesn't have great combat. Most, like Super Metroid, doesn't have really great combat. It's kind of forgettable after a while. Not great boss fights. Shantae doesn't have great combat. It gets kind of mashy, too. It gets just kind of whip, 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 you know? So I could forgive that. But there are two things in Ori and the Blind Forest that really, really work to the game's detriment, and I think keep it from being a really terrific game. And the first is, I'm just going to call it Metroidvania fatigue. I mean, you think about, like, a game that came out to compete with, I might better put a save point down. Like, you gotta think of Ori in terms of games that it's competing with. Where, like, 5 years ago, these 2D exploration platformers were in short supply. You couldn't get a lot of them. They were kind of a niche market, and because they were a niche market, we're going to get our first ability here. These little spirit trees, these are our Chozo statues. But because they're kind of a niche market, like, if you like the style of game, the 2D exploration platformer, when one comes out, you're just like, boom, bombastic, I dig it, I'm going to play it. But Ori and the Blind Forest didn't come out 5-6 years ago. Now I can climb walls and get another, woo! Now I got 2 energy cells. Ori didn't come out 5-6 years ago. Ori came out just recently, just in the last, I think, maybe not even a full year ago. But you just think in terms of what all's out there now to play. I mean, you got Mark of the Ninja, there's Freedom Planet, there's the giants like Shovel Knight, the Shantae games. Shantae 2 and 3 both came out. Games like Gianna Sisters, which you guys, a little more obscure, but you just watch me let's play it. You got like the roguelite stuff, like Rogue Legacy, Spelunky, Risk of Rain. Lots of different flavors of these games. And then, of course, like, the little bite-sized ones, the little tiny ones, you know, the little tiny Metroidvanias. There's like Zeo Drifter, the Momodora games, which I just played one of recently, which is pretty good. And to me, like, the 2 giants in the Metroidvania, specifically the exploration-based games, that guy in the foreground didn't look friendly. Shoutouts to Jay Kai for sponsoring this video, and to everybody who helps make my channel possible by supporting me on Patreon.